Okay, I think we have everything we're going to need.
Maybe we should put that in a toxic waste bin. Just shake it back together, honestly. It probably is cold enough in the shop to preserve it. The kids.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to have an interview.
I wouldn't toss it. I would just set it in and run. Just shake it up.
Maybe you could pour that into the gas tank of a car and it'll run.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe it'll also explode.
And I'll win the lottery in Utah.
I didn't buy it.
Bro, look how delayed it is.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and put your cell phones away so we can get started with today's instruction.
We got front row seats to the live stream.
I know, isn't that beautiful?
Excuse me. Hold up, 1 second. Okay, throw a wrench at him, honestly.
I was. I'm like, we can try out for dodgeball. That's what I always explain when administration comes in. Why did you throw something at a student? I was like, we're testing for dodgeball reflexes. He failed.
We should make an auto-shot dodgeball team.
Well, they tried having dodgeball. All right, so today we're going to crack open this engine. Okay? So I just finished draining the oil, but the first thing we want to remove is the flywheel. Okay? And there's a lot of parts we're going to be taking pictures of today. Okay? A lot of information that's got to be recorded on your Google slide. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the starter nut right here that's connecting the starter cup with the flywheel fins with the flywheel to the crankshaft. Okay? I'm going to use a battery impact at 19 millimeter socket. Okay? And set it on there. Now I'm going to have a teammate hold the engine because as you can see this will want to spin and I don't want that to spin and have fingers in the way and get trapped. Okay? I'm going to peg out the volume here. Okay, so now I've removed the main nut and I removed the so we have the starter cup, the main nut, okay? So what's the purpose of the starter cup? Yep, this is where the pull start grabs to then rotate the motor to start it, okay? So that's one thing I'm going to take a picture of. Then the next one's the cooling fins, hence what it does, it cools the motor. Okay, next I have the flywheel, and I'm going to need to remove the flywheel, and I'm going to do it via impact. So I'm going to take the nut that I just took off, I'm going to put it on backwards, okay, I'm going to thread it on. If this isn't jammed up, there we go. That one's jacked up. Okay, I'm going to thread it on until this face is even with the crankshaft. Okay? Now it's even. I'm going to then take my hammer and I'm going to strike right in the center. And it's going to take a couple strikes to make this come free just by vibration alone. There it goes. Unthread this. I'm going to also have that on my photos. Next thing I'm going to remove is, what's this part? Flywheel. And what's it do? No, it doesn't fly a wheel. Okay, let's think about a swing. As you go forward, what will happen? You have to go back, right? You don't just stop.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, that's what the purpose of the flywheel is to take that motion back. It also dampens the vibration of the piston going in and out. Okay, this one also has a magnet on it for the magneto. This is the armature. Okay, so there's a few things that you're going to talk about on the flywheel. Okay, so now I'm ready to crack the case open. I have several bolts on the back that I'm going to remove. I'm going to use a 10 millimeter socket and a short extension. I'm going to make sure that the ratchet is on loosening. I'm going to start here at the bottom. Now this is where you'll have your teammate hold the motor for you as you break these loose. Okay, so I've done that one. I'm going to come up and do one across from it. Okay, there. I'm going to come over here. Then down here. It'll be a lot easier because you guys will have somebody holding it. Okay, once I have them all broken loose, I'm going to take the ratchet off and use this as a nut driver. That's why it has this knurled end on here, so that way I can use my fingers to unthread the bolts. And hopefully you verified that there is no oil in your motor. Yep. Why do you think I drained mine? Because I knew it had motor oil in it. And it still does.
See, that's why we have nice things.
Exactly. No, I didn't put them on right. You're very observant. But I had them near me. But they don't protect your eyes near you. There. Because I'm really worried about that bolt jumping at me. Okay, so now I'm ready to pull the back cover off. Okay, the back cover helps centers the crankshaft. It also supports the camshaft. Okay, it also has where the oil, where you fill and where you can check the oil level. Okay, to remove it, what I like to do, I'm not going to use a hammer, I'm just going to pry on right here the filler, and it will slowly come up. Okay, no screwdriver was needed. And I'll sit there and pull it apart. Now I'm going to double check, make sure that my gasket's coming with it. You can see the gasket is sticking to one side and the other. There we go. So I have the back cover. And the bearing support for the crankshaft, the machine support for the camshaft. Okay, we have the camshaft, crankshaft, oil sensor. Back here would have been the governor, but it's been broken off in this motor. It was one of the racing motors. I'm going to now rotate this motor until it's at top dead center, TDC, talking about the piston being all the way up. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it. Now I'm all the way at top dead center, and I'm going to look at my timing marks and see if they are still aligned. So what is a timing mark? These dots right here. Okay, you can see one is on the V and the other one is on the needle. We want to make sure they're lined up. If they are not lined up, your engine will not run. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove the camshaft. All I'm going to do is just pull it up, and it's going to take a little twist. These are Healy cut gears, meaning they're cut into a slant. Okay, now that's removed. This is my camshaft. Okay, we have the exhaust lobe, intake lobe. You're going to measure those, so you need to know that they are. You'll also notice that the camshaft gear is larger than the crankshaft. So that means, is it going to go faster or slower? Slower. It's going to go slower than the crankshaft. It's half the speed. So this goes around once. This will go around half of that. Okay. That's why it takes 2 revolutions of the crankshaft to make up the whole 4-stroke cycle, but it will only be 1 of the camshaft. Okay. So I'm going to make sure I take a picture of the camshaft. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the oil sensor down here. So I want to make sure I have 8mm or what size?
16.
5/16. 5/16. So there's one of the bolts. There's the other bolt. Okay, the last thing I need to do to remove that sensor is I have to remove this nut. Normally there's a yellow wire. It comes out of there. This one is cut off. Once again, because it's a racing motor. 14mm is what you need. So unthread that. Take that off. Push that in. Oh, actually, we're not going to get that off until we get the crankshaft out of the way. So let's go ahead and remove some other parts. We have our tappets. Okay, these are what pushes the push rod. These ride on the camshaft. Okay, so as the lobes go up, it will then push this up, which then pushes the push rod up, then to the rocker. Okay, so I'm just going to pull these out, and you want to make sure you know which one's which. So is this exhaust or intake? It would be the exhaust side. Okay, so this is exhaust, there's intake, so I'm going to make sure I keep those organized. I'm going to now rotate the crankshaft until the oil dipper and end cap is over here, so that way I can get to the space for these bolts. I'm going to use a 10mm wrench, and I'm going to break those loose, okay, making sure that you go the right direction. So which way am I going to go? Up or down? Down? Yeah, that would be tightening it, wouldn't it? Yeah, so you're going to go up. Yeah. Okay, and these will be tight, because if they go loose, then your piston will fall apart. So I'm going to break both of those. This is the reason why I'm wearing gloves. There's a lot of sharp edges in this motor, and so the gloves help prevent my fingers from getting ripped apart. Okay, so now this is probably the slowest part of all of this. Is now I'm going to sit there and unthread this bolt. And I'm just going to use my fingers. If you drop it, where would it go? In the block. Okay, there's one of them. Now I'm going to remove the other one. Let's see if it got tight again. Nope. Okay, now I've removed the other bolt. I'm going to grab the oil dipper right here at the bottom, and I'm just going to pull it backwards, which will then separate it from the rest of the connecting rod. Okay. There's a filing cabinet drawer for all that.
I think it's called air things.
There's our oil dipper in the end of the connecting rod. The oil dipper is literally what it does is it comes in, dips into the oil, and then splashes it up here onto the cam, and then up under here onto the cylinder wall. That's another item you're going to take a picture. Now I'm going to rotate the motor until the piston's all the way back at top dead center. Okay, and as I keep going now, you'll hear the piston's connecting rod drop and hit the cylinder wall. Okay, at that point I can now wiggle out the crankshaft. And you have to be careful of the connecting rod, the counterweights on the flywheel, and the governor gear. Okay? There it goes. Okay.
There's also a whole bunch of.
There's oil coming out.
Throw the certificate away.
There's oil like pouring out.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so we have our crankshaft here. We have journals. Okay, this is our main journal or connecting rod journal. That's where the piston sits on. You're going to measure that. You're going to measure your PTO journal. That's where the other bearing sits. And then we're going to measure our magneto or flywheel journal. Okay, these are our counterweights. So there's several items you're going to talk about on the crankshaft. Okay. Yep, you will. I can now remove the oil sensor. Another item that is there so that if the motor turns to the side or if you don't have enough oil in the car or the motor, it will shut it down to protect the motor. Okay, the last thing I'm going to now pull out is the piston and connecting rod. All I'm going to do is I'm going to push here on the connecting rod's journal and just push it on out. I'm going to keep my hand on the other side so it doesn't launch out. Okay. On the piston alone, it has several parts that you're going to take pictures of. And I mean each one of these parts you're going to take a picture of. You're going to take a picture of the connecting rod. Okay. Inside here you have the wrist pin. Okay. You have multiple rings. You have your oil ring. Let's go catch it. There we go. The oil ring consists of 3 parts. You have this scraper, then you have the waffle, and then another scraper to spread the oil around the cylinder wall. Then you have 2 compression rings, okay, to keep the compression here on the top. Okay, so how many pictures would that be just on the piston alone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the piston itself, 6. Okay? And then we have a block, which holds everything. Okay? Now I want to show you something on the other one. This one, like I said, the governor has been taken out or broken, so it does not activate on this motor, where it does on this one. Okay, so we have the governor arm. Okay, that's going to stay in place. Now inside here, here's the governor gear. Okay, the counterweights right here, and this one is missing 2 parts. There's a little black washer that sits all the way down here, and then there is another plastic piece that sits on top of the shaft, which is called a governor nipple. Okay, and that will sit on there. So make sure you have those parts with your motor. Unless you have a motor that was set up for racing, and if it was set up for racing, you'll see a bolt on the top. Okay? So if you don't have that, you should have this style where the governor's arm is sticking up through here. Okay? There you go. So, at this point,